Disclaimer: this is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before putting your money to work. With that out of the way, let's have some fun and enjoy the episode. What's good, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Rich Off Gains podcast. Happy Money Mondays. This is episode 30. It's your boy CB checking back in with you all. I hope you all had an amazing weekend. Me, myself, I had a great weekend with my family, friends. Really friends though. We went out, supported my boy Cam 1K for his performance on Friday. That was an amazing show. Shout out to Cam. And then we went to the lake yesterday, had a good time there, and really just spent time with friends. So hopefully you all had a great time this weekend with your friends, with your family. And hopefully you all got into the market today and was very active in the market. We had a lot of gap ups, which we're going to talk about later on in the show. But without further ado, let's get right to it. Before we get right to it, however, I want to just talk about something real quick. It is now the month of June, which means we're going into the 6th month of this year, 2026. So I want you to stop what you're doing and ask yourself, and just do a 6-month check-in. Ask yourself, are you doing the things that you said you would be doing going into this year? Are you achieving the goals that you had set out to achieve? Are you reaching those desired plans that you desired to pursue? Are you doing the things that you said you wanted to do going into this year? If you're not, you still have time to get back on track, but you have to start taking action today. You have to put yourself in position to lock in. You have to put yourself in position to focus and to remove those distractions going into the second half of the year. There's no more playtime. Playtime is over. You must execute with the utmost important energy and efficiency as possible in order to get the results. So check in with yourself going into this month of June. Use this month to get back on track and lock in and execute going into the second half of the year. Whether you're a CEO, whether you're a manager, or whether you're just someone who's in a very high level of authority and positioning in an industry or a company, you need to have these five traits in order to be a highly effective leader. Number one, we have being able to make a decision. Every leader needs to be a decisive decision maker. The reason being is because indecisiveness and indecision leads to inactivity. And when there's inactivity in a business or in a company, that leads to low effort and low results. So be decisive, and being able to make a decision quick enough, not even necessarily quick enough, but just being able to make a decision, period, is more important and more beneficial than not making and coming to a conclusion on a decision at all. Because I'd rather make a mistake than not make a decision. Okay, so making the decision for the business to move forward on a deal, making the decision for the business to close on this opportunity, making the decision for the employee to get the pay raise, or for you to get the pay raise, or whatever it is, make the decision. And then learn on the back end of whether or not it was the right call or the wrong call. You'll know once you go through the process of making the decision. But if you never make the decision, you'll never get that result or that lesson from the thing that you're trying to learn in order to know whether or not it's worth making a decision. So just make the decision and move forward. Another trait you need to have to be an effective leader is accountability. A lot of leaders today, a lot of people in positions of leadership today lack accountability. They point the finger and try to throw other people under the bus, and that's not how a leader should operate. A leader is supposed to be the role model. A leader is supposed to be the person that, even if he didn't do wrong, he still looks in the mirror and asks himself, what could I have done differently? Because that shows real respect, and not necessarily authority, but just more so respect, and how someone who cares about the thing that they're creating show up for them, for their people, and for the company more than anything, enough to say, what could I have done better? Even if they knew they didn't physically do anything or socially did anything, it was just, what could I have done better? How could I have said the things that I needed my team to do differently? How could I have delivered the things that my clients might have needed differently? How could I have made this result be a better result? Because at the end of the day, it's always going to come back to the leader. It's always going to come back to the owner of the business or the manager of the company to come up with a solution that helps the team create better results. Your team is only going to be as good as you are as a leader. All right, so being able to take accountability for mistakes that your team makes, and then not even to, on the accountability side with that, don't not take the accountability, point the finger, and then take accountability for the good that they do. That's backwards. You need to be giving the credit to your team for showing up and doing the work, because that gives them reassurance that they're being recognized for being able to execute and do the things that you wanted them to do. And then that might drive them to do even better at the job that you have them doing, rather than taking the credit and not showing no love or no, appreciation for your team and doing what they've done for your company or for your idea to be able to see the success that it's seeing. Without a team that you have around you, most of your dreams are not possible on your own. So just be mindful and be more accountable as a leader. Be someone who can take the fall for others, especially whenever you're in a seat that everybody's looking up to you anyway. You might as well be the person of humility so that your company, your team can look at you with the same respect, and then they wouldn't want you to fail. They want to actually see you succeed, so then they'll do the best they can do in order to help you win. The number 3 thing you want to do as a leader is you want to have self-control of your emotions. Now, business is hard. There's no doubt in my mind that we all know that business is hard. It's not an easy industry or easy career to pursue. Self-employment is not an easy thing to pursue. Even employment is not an easy thing to pursue. If you're at a high enough level as a manager or somebody that's in a very important role, these highly sought after or highly paid careers are not easy jobs. So having self-control in your emotions and the way you respond is important, because you might just be having a bad day and someone else might be having a bad day, but you are the person that's in the control of how that person responds to showing up to work the next day, or how that person responds to showing up for the company the next day, and then not only that, but you also are a reflection of how the clients might look at you and perceive you, how the outside perspectives are looking at the things that you're doing within the company, and the way you're responding in the company matters. Because of the level of authority you have within the company, you have to have self-control over the way you interact and respond to certain things. Yeah, they might piss you off. Yeah, they might make you upset, but you still have to have self-control enough to where you can still sustain a level head to be able to maintain and operate at a consistent rate and produce the results needed to help the company progress and flow further. If you're a hothead and you're someone who isn't capable of having self-control of their emotions, granted, everybody can get upset from time to time, but if you're just always constantly getting upset and always constantly upset and nagging and complaining and just going on tangents and rants of all the things going wrong in the company and just so frustrated and mad at everybody, nobody's going to want to be around that. 9 times out of 10, most employees are not going to want to be around that. You're not going to have the highly effective employees. You're going to have the very low quality employees who can maintain and operate in that environment. Granted, there are some one-offs where there's environments that people operate like that at a very high level, but most environments are not built off of that kind of energy. You got to have self-control. And I'm not saying to be a robot, but just be someone who's human. Like, obviously, there's other people who deal with things, who have other things going on. So just be open-minded to the idea that, what the business is dealing with isn't as important as somebody's personal issues in their life. make sure you check in with your team and show up for your team and understand what's going on within your group of people in your environment, your community of work, rather than just blowing the top off and just getting upset at somebody for not showing up and doing the job that they needed to do. Have self-control of your emotions, and have especially as a leader in a leadership role. Have self-control of your emotions. The way you respond to everything matters. The fourth habit as a leader you want to have is a vision. You want to be a visionary. You want to be somebody that gives the company and the business or the team direction. Having a vision and having an idea in place of what it is that you guys are working towards gives you that sense of clarity and that sense of direction that you need. So being able to visualize a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, while everybody else is visualizing or thinking about the in real time, current day moment, separates you from the pack. You got to be able to visualize and create ideas that are not physical yet, and then have other people understand what it is you're trying to create so that they know what they're working towards. So this is just like a one-off niche skill, but it's a very important skill that a lot of leaders need to develop or have and implement in their habit usage. You want to be constantly thinking about forward. You want to be constantly forward thinking and thinking about what can the company do next to push the needle forward for the group and for the team, for their clients. Always be thinking forward and visualizing what the company can do to improve their product, improve their quality, improve their service, and provide a better output for something. Lastly, the last habit you want to have as a leader is consistency. You want to be consistent in the way you show up. You want to be consistent in the way you respond. You want to be consistent in the overall leadership. As a leader, you have to consistently show up day in and day out the same way every time. That helps your team develop a sense of respect for you because they see that you're working hard and showing up. It's just like Mark. There was a story I heard about Mark who, when he bought the Mavericks, he wanted his office in the sales room. And he probably did that for a few years, just showing up to the sales room, his office being in the sales room where all the salespeople were to sell all the clients that were going to these games, office suites and seats. And he was on those phones, picking up the phone, making calls to these clients, and showing the salespeople that he has what it takes to show up and do the work as a leader. That helps the team of people in the sales room build a sense of respect for you and want to work for you, rather than someone who's just making calls and shots from an island or from somewhere far away, or from, you're not around your team, you're not giving them that energy, you're not showing up consistently enough to help your team feel motivated enough to want to work. And not even necessarily that they need the motivation, but it just adds fuel to the fire by you just simply consistently being there and being who you are consistently. You got to show up in the day-to-day habits that you have established for yourself consistently for others to see. Because it might not necessarily be about what you're doing, it's just about how you're going about and doing it. So lead with more responsibility and less authority. A lot of times we get males specifically, probably females too, we get a lot of ego-driven actions boosted in our head just because of the level of authority we're given or the level of authority we develop over time. And we just think that we can treat people any kind of way. That's not the case. Treat people with respect. Treat people how you want to be treated. If you want to be treated crazy, then that's fine. I don't know what kind of person you are, but hey, that's you. That's your preference. But if you want somebody to treat you with respect, treat them with respect as well. That goes for employees, that goes for clients, that goes for people you know, that goes for people you don't know. Treat them with respect and less authority. Treat them like humans, because they are humans. We're all human at the end of the day. Everybody has problems. Everybody has issues. Work through the issues and build a team of people that you can trust and rely on to show up for not only what you're trying to build, but what they're trying to build as well. Because a lot of times you can build something, if somebody can build something big enough if somebody can build something big enough within an idea that you have, then that shows that your idea is big enough to help other people grow as well. That's real leadership. That's being a real visionary. So build out effective leadership habits by using these 5 habits and change your environment of work for your employees, for yourself, for your clients, for every aspect of your business to grow. If you guys want more tips and tricks about day trading and investing, make sure to click the link in the bio, www.continuebelief.com. I share a lot of free resources and tools, tips and tricks about how to day trade, how to get started investing, and so much more. So make sure you guys check out the link in the bio. Thank you guys so much. Make sure to leave a like and follow. And yeah, see you guys later. Today's investment tip of the week. Stop just planning the upside move. Have a plan for the upside, the downside. Have multiple outcomes for how your trade can work out. Because there's a few reasons why I say this. A lot of times we are so small-minded. I know I was at one point. I was so small-minded in the market to seeing a certain result or a certain outcome play out in my favor that I would just limit myself from the upside. That's one way, right? So you're limiting yourself from the potential upside by just looking at one small target. What if that target broke above it? What if we went higher? How much higher could we have gone? Where is the next target after that first target? Because if I have multiple contracts or multiple shares and I want to, offload as we slowly grow above my initial target, where else would we be? What's the second target? What's the third target? What's the fourth target? How much higher can this go? A lot of times we cut ourselves short simply due to the fact that we are not allowing ourselves to think big enough. And so thinking bigger and increasing the targets and looking for more levels helps you see a bigger return in the market. But on the flip side, we also can have the tendency to not even think about the downside. What's the risk? What am I risking? How much lower can this go if it were to go lower? Where could it go? You got to understand the risk and the reward, but you also need to think about the bigger rewards. Because your risk should be limited. It should have a limitation to where you allow it to go in order for you to stop out. And your reward should be unlimited. It should have an unlimited amount of ranges that it could reach to an extent. So you want to understand what other levels you have on the chart simply by looking at the previous levels of highs, previous levels of lows, what price analysts are predicting this price of the stock to go to, all these different use cases to understand and learn other scenarios that could play out. Over the weekend, I was able to be in a Microsoft position that went up over 300% simply due to the fact that NVIDIA and Microsoft came together and reconfigured the way that they have new PCs that they're releasing with AI built into the PC. And so my initial trade that I did on the Friday, I did a day trade for it. I made money on it, great. But I decided to swing it. I closed the day at 60% and it opened up over 300%. Because I had a thought process of what if it could go higher? Because we broke above a level of resistance that was holding for a really long time. We finally broke above it. I said, what if it can go higher? What if it can reach that next level that I have on my line, my chart? And sure enough, going into that Monday after that announcement of that partnership, it broke through that second chart. So then it had another level that it could break above that after it broke above that one. But I took profit because I didn't want to be greedy. And I knew my risk was limited because I was already in profit for that trade and I was in profit for that contract. So I knew that if we opened below, it just had to be a really bad weekend. We just, that's just how the dice rolled. We just had to miss out on that opportunity. But that wasn't the case. So you have to have multiple scenarios and outcomes for your trades and the ways that they can play out, because they can play out in any given way, especially in this market that we're in right now. So just be mindful of that going into the second half of this year, really going into your investment journey. Have multiple outcomes. All right, so the market has been running rampant, man. The market has been going up and up and up and up. I believe it closed higher today as well. And man, where are we at now in the market? Are we in a period where we should be fearful? Are we in a period where the market's going to see correction? What's going on? Will we see downside going in the month of June? So there's a very interesting fact that I came across studying for over the weekend, and it pretty much was talking about how the market typically does not run consistently higher for 9 weeks straight. That's not normal for the market. That typically happens every so often, maybe every year or something like that. Doesn't happen very often. And for it to run higher for 10 weeks straight is very, very, very rare. That happens probably every 10 to 20 years. Something in that range. It's somewhere around there that it doesn't normally happen. So will we see lower going into the month of June? I think that we will see some form of correction going into the month of June. Now, I don't know when that will be. I don't know if that's going to be this week. I don't know if it's going to be next week. It's a possibility it can be this week, simply just the fact that we have rarely seen new weekly highs on a 10-week consistency basis. So I consider that to be a risk. So that would be the only reason that I think we see lower this week. Now, we have been getting a lot of great news around tech and around, partnerships, like I mentioned in the video, and the Microsoft partnership. So that could be a reason as to why we see higher. There's also a lot of news around Iran and the conversations around peace negotiations coming to an end. We seem to have not come to a conclusion and a solution to help both sides be at peace with their decisions. And so it seems like we are at a crossroads with the negotiations. So that might put the war back on the table, and that might be more of a possibility now going into the second half of this year. But it doesn't seem like that's been too concerning to the market as of late. It's really just been running rampant due to tech and due to, AMD and semiconductor companies alike to be running the way they've been running. So I think that it would take tech getting a little bit of a cool off and becoming more weak in order for us to see some downside. But if we don't see any downside, we'll just hold these levels and continue to push higher. But that's my thoughts. So I do think we can see some form of a correction. I think that if we hold the structure, that we can see higher. If SPY falls below 740 to 736, that would put us back in territory to get back below 732. If we can fall below 732, we can see a little bit of a pullback going down to 725 to fill that gap. And that's just off the top of my head. I know we're sitting somewhere around 759 to 760. So if we're able to get that failure, then I think we can see a little bit lower going down to that level. But if we hold that level, as long as we hold above 725, I think we can see higher. If we fell below 725, I think that's where we can see some form of correction come in, and we get back below 700 and see somewhere around 680 to 690. But I don't think that will happen just yet. I think we'll still be able to push a bit higher as long as we hold above those levels. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the market. It's great to see the market run up the way it has been running up. I wish I was able to capitalize on more opportunities that I've been looking at. I'm best believe I will be doing 10 times the research going forward and making sure I'm looking at every single opportunity that crosses my eyes and my radar. Dell being there was a video I didn't watch in time, and it was before the earnings report. They had a conference. Dell had a conference, and the video's CEO came out and spoke, and they had a very good engagement and very good video. It was like a 10-minute video. I didn't watch it, and then for me not watching it, I missed out on the opportunity to possibly even take interest into looking to buy Dell before their earnings report, and they had a very blowout earnings report, and I just missed out on that opportunity. Like last week, they went from $200 to $400, and it was just crazy to see that. And then I looked at my playlist of YouTube videos to watch, and it was one of those videos that I did not watch in time. And so everything's just about timing and being on point with your research and just being very efficient and effective with your time. Like, do not slow up and let up on the gas. Keep your foot on the gas. Keep studying. Keep working. because these opportunities are coming every single day. So you got to keep your head on a swivel about what these opportunities are, how they're coming about, and especially if you're doing the research already and understanding what it is that you're buying and investing in, take the actions necessary to be in position to win. You gotta be in a position to win. If you don't, you're gonna miss out. And that's what I feel I missed out on a lot of opportunities in the first half of this year. And, I'm looking for those new opportunities coming up in the later years to see those returns that we saw this year. Now, I don't know if we will get that because Trump is only in office for 2 more years, and Trump is really, he got his hand on the market and manipulation, and not he has his hand on the control and the pulse of the market right now. So I don't know how the market will be after he's out of office, but we only will see once that time comes. So right now, like I said, taking advantage of this time and this economy, because it's only gonna get crazier. It's only gonna be more and more expensive to live. So why not increase your your income and have more coming in. So yeah, and that actually perfectly rolls into my next topic, which is minimum wage. What are my thoughts on minimum wage? I was reading an article about Oklahoma trying to pretty much increase their minimum wage from $7.50 to $15, and it's not common that states do that. So, what are my thoughts? How do I feel about minimum wage? Honestly, minimum wage should not be the end goal. Minimum wage should not be the goal, period. Especially if you're someone who's an adult, who has a family, who has kids, who has people that they have to take care of, who has responsibilities that are bigger than themselves. Minimum wage to me is something that you do coming out of high school, or being in high school, coming out of it, going into college, and you have a part-time gig or something that you try to do just to have some funds coming in for yourself. Outside of that, minimum wage is not the solution, especially in this era of time that we live in, this time that we're steadily pushing towards a AI dominant world. Minimum wage will not help you get by. You have to find real skills, hard skills, skills that help you pay the bills and help you grow out of your day-to-day routine, and not even necessarily your day-to-day routine, more so your flow of life and the way you're living now. Like if you're making, because minimum wage just off the top, that's $7.50 an hour. That's the minimum wage right now. So $7.50 an hour, you're working 40 hours a week making minimum wage. That is what? Let's do the math. I'm not even gonna look at it in my head. I was going to, but let's just do the math. We'll say $7.50, right? Times 40 hours. 40 hours, because 8 hours a day. You're making $300 a week. Times 12, that's $3,600 a month. Times, I'm sorry, wait. I did that wrong. Times 4 is $1,200 a month. Times 12 is, let's see, $14,000. That's nothing. You're making $14,000 a year. That is very triggering. I'm not gonna lie. There's no way nobody's able to. Minimum wage is nothing. You have no real value pursuing minimum wage. Your time, there's so much more you can do with your time than working minimum wage jobs. Even if it's a part-time thing, I don't even think it's worth it for part-time. Like, there's so many opportunities. And individual contracting jobs are paying you 3 times that amount. And I know that for a fact. Jobs that are around being a plumber, being a technician, electrician, whether you're doing freelance jobs for trade shows, setting up and tearing down trade shows like carpentry, so many options than minimum wage. It just takes you applying yourself and putting real effort behind the pursuit of something that's worthwhile. Minimum wage is not it. So if you're trying to work minimum wage, stop. Especially if you're a young adult, especially if you're someone who is older, stop. Pursue jobs that offer real value. Work jobs that give you real value and pay you for a skill that you use, a hard skill that you use, so that you can be able to take care of other people, your family, you know, yourself. You can't take care of yourself with $14,000 a year. That's crazy. So yeah, that's insane. But y'all, I appreciate you all for tuning in once again. This is episode 30 of the Rich on Kings podcast. I just want to say thank you, God, once again for another week that was not promised, another month that was not promised. Man, it's June already. It's crazy to think that, but we're here. God is amazing, and you know we're only going to improve and get better and better at what we're doing. I learned this about how important it is to you don't have to always be right on the things you're pursuing. Your accuracy to success can be less than 20% and you can still make it out. The reason why I say that is because I was listening to a video over the weekend and it was talking about Michael Jordan. His all-time shooting percentage is less than 50%. All-time shooting percentage is less than 50%. He made less than 50% of his shots, yet he still won as many championships as he won and has led his team to multiple finals games where they had the chance to compete for that. Less than 50% of his shots made. Then he mentioned another tennis player who scored less than 50% of the swings he swung at. All in all, saying that to say, you don't have to be right 50% of the time. You don't have to be right 60% of the time. You don't have to be right 70% of the time. You can be wrong less than 50% of the or more than 50% of the time and still be able to succeed at a high level. It's just about how much more you're winning on those wins compared to the times you're losing. So if you are applying yourself and doing the things you need to do in order to see the greater results and taking the risk to see the greater return, that's fine. Keep taking that risk. Keep applying yourself. Keep pushing for the result that you're seeking, and just keep your risk manageable enough to where you can still maintain that level of execution. And at some point, you'll get that return on that investment. So yeah, that was a very interesting thing to see, and it opened my mind up a lot to the idea of increasing my risk, and also while increasing my risk, increasing my target of return, so that I can get a bigger return on the investment and, you know, be willing to risk a little bit more. But yeah. With that being said, y'all, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Thank you all once again for tuning in to the Rich Off Games podcast, episode 30. Make sure you guys stay safe, stay blessed. I will see you guys same time, same place next week. See you later.